get the lights working in Mad's Little Theatre, the first thing you need to do is to go to the switch room at the end of the rat run and turn the power on. Once that's done, quick trip up to the top of the fly gallery. At the far end you'll find the racks room. In there we've got the patch panels and the dimmer panels. Pull the plug out, stick it in, pull the plug out, stick it in. You've patched the whole lighting rig together. And then it's time to turn your attention to the Vista software, and that's what this short 10-minute video is all about. Forget about the patching, forget about the power, let's learn about the Vista software. I'd like you to imagine that you've been asked to do the lighting for a very short play in Mad's Little Theatre. It comprises 2 acts. The first act ends very suddenly with a gunshot, and the second act fades away to a much more tranquil setting. And what I'm going to do here is just run through the already programmed lighting sequence, just to give you an idea of what you'll be having a go at working up. Right at the very beginning, the first cue, that's these lines of red vertical bars and grey squares along the top. The first cue is called House Up. That's putting the house lights on, number 48, house. I'll explain why it's that number a bit later on. But the house lights are on, people are coming into the theatre, and you've been in the tech box given the go-ahead by the stage manager. So to give the audience a warning the play is about to begin, the lights go down to half when you click to the next cue. The third cue turns the house lights off completely. The fourth cue brings the 3 stage lights on, so the acting team can come on stage and strut their stuff, as they say. The first act comes to an end. It comes to a very sudden and abrupt end, if you can imagine, with a gunshot. And at that point, the lights themselves all go out. There's a pause, then the house lights come on, but you may have noticed at the same time, just the blue light has come on to about 50%. That's to act as a warmer. I believe they might call them tab warmers. It's a light on the stage so the props team perhaps can come on and rearrange the furniture, maybe drag the dead body off the stage, but they need some lights to work by. So whilst the house lights are full on, there is a pale glow, in this case a pale blue glow, over the stage. We're getting ready for the second act to begin, so the warmers get turned off. There, they've faded away. Cue number 8 brings the house lights down. This time they go completely back in one go. There's no halfway stage because people are now used to the fact that when the theatre becomes dark, it's ready for the second act. Second act begins with all the 3 stage lights coming up to full brightness. The second act comes to eventually its conclusion, and as I said earlier, it's a much more tranquil end, and in this case it's a 10-second fade rather than the default 2-second fade out. So we see all the stage lights going down to complete blackout, but much slower. We then have the curtain call, so the cast have all gone off, they come back on to a lit stage, the curtain call lights have brought up, and when they've received a standing ovation and lots of wonderful applause and flowers and chocolates have been thrown, the stage lights go down, allowing the cast to leave the stage, and moments later we would bring up the house lights in order that the audience can leave the auditorium. When everybody's gone and it's safe to do so, we turn off the house lights, and in fact there's a switch in the tech box itself which you flick over, which hands back the control of the house lights to the actual switches in the auditorium, but that's another feature entirely. So that's a very quick overview of the lighting, the Vista lighting system at work. So this is a very quick introduction to the Vista lighting software. Firstly, once one's launched the program, you need to give it a name. I've called this one the lighting demo, and then moved on to the section which is a bit intimidating to begin with, where you call up the dimmers, and in our case, as I've shown you earlier, we've got 48 dimmers, and these dimmers can appear graphically when one clicks at the bottom of the screen, and what I'm doing is working on the first 3 dimmers and the dimmer number 48. So we've got 4 in total there, numbers 1 to 3 and 48. By zooming in on them, which is fairly easy to do once you've got the hang of the system, I'm taking the first dimmer and I'm changing the name of it to red. The second dimmer or fixture, I'm changing its name to green, and would you believe it, the third one, I'm going to change its name to blue. So we've now got 3 fixtures, 3 lights, red, green, blue. The final one, dimmer number 48, is the one which controls the house lights. Just to make things a little bit clearer, I've had a go at changing the colours of the 3 fixtures to match their names. The next thing to do is to introduce the cue line, but you do that by clicking at the bottom, and you can see it appear at the top, the green square with a yellow background. That's our first default cue. It's 2 seconds long, and what I want to do there is to turn on the house lights by clicking on the intensity. The first cue turns on the house lights, changes the time to 0 seconds, turns them on instantly. There's the lights, house lights coming on. This is for when people are coming into the theatre, as explained earlier. Secondly, we on the second cue bring them down to 30%. Third cue, bring it down to 0. Now we add the fourth cue, again by clicking on that green circle, selecting all the fixtures and turning them to full brightness. So now we've got the lights at full brightness for the first half of the act. At the interval, the lights go off with that bang, so we change the timing there to 0 because that's the very quick blackout. Now I'm going to add another cue, and this we're going to do 2 things to the fixtures. Firstly, you're going to bring the house lights up to full intensity. Secondly, bring the blue down to 50%. These, as I've said earlier, acting as the workers. We get to the end of the interval, and we need to firstly turn off the workers, or the set warmers, and then to turn off the house lights, coming off instantly this time, no need for an interim 30%. Second act starts up, selecting all 3 of the fixtures, turning up to full brightness. Very straightforward second act, right up until the final moments, where there will be, when I've changed the numbers eventually, a 10-second delay. But I've not put that in at the moment. Here we've got the setting up for the curtain call, all the lights on for the curtain call, all the lights off at the end of the curtain call, and after that we program the house lights again to come up to full intensity to give illumination for people as they're leaving the theatre. And the last cue to put in, cue number 14, turns everything off, as it were. We're going to do that instantly, so again changing the duration of that to 0 seconds. Just to change that blackout one, that's the one that needs to be changed from 2 seconds to 10 seconds to make it a slow blackout or a slow fade at the end of the second half, the end of the play. You can test any stage of the cues by running up and down using the little arrows there, or indeed the controller which sits alongside the laptop in the tech box itself. So the other thing that's helpful to do is to just name the cues, and you do that by clicking on the default word cue and changing it to whatever you want to call the actual cue. Just changed the first 3 there, but then we can see that all the other names have been changed. It's just a bit repetitious to show you that in this this particular part of the program. Another thing you can do, should you wish to do so, all sorts of things. You can copy and paste cues, you can move them around, shunt them around, do whatever you like with them, but there will be occasions when perhaps you'll want to delete cues. That's also possible. The final bit of housekeeping is to actually drop your cue list that you've made into the virtual controller, so it does in turn connect up to the real controller. So now the program that you've created can be controlled by the controller alongside you on the desk. That's an incredible whistle stop of how the Vista software works. There's endless options in the program which I've not even touched at the moment, and anyone who's used the program would say, oh no, you don't do it like that, I do it differently. There's in one way no right or wrong way of using this sort of software. It's very innovative. You can do all sorts of things. The main point and purpose of this kind of training video, for want of a better phrase, is just to encourage anybody who's involved in MADS to have a go at lighting, familiarise yourself, come and talk to me. It's great fun and the possibilities are absolutely endless. Lighting is an incredibly important feature in any stage production, and at MADS we strive to achieve the highest possible standards. And if you'd like to have a go at helping us with that inspirational idea, please do have a word with me or anybody else in the tech team, and do come along and join us in the tech box and learn all there is about the wonders of stage lighting.